Hello, my name's Jonny Drury and welcome to ShropshireStart.com. I'm delighted as always to be joined by Shrewsbury Town correspondent Lewis Cox as we look ahead to Salop's big clash with Oxford United, high-flying Oxford United on Saturday. Lewis, it's been a good run of late, unbeaten in 3, 1 win, 2 draws, but as you've alluded to in your sort of interesting piece on stats and XG and goals, etc. yesterday and yesterday's Shropshire Star, the goals have sort of dried up in front of goal, really.
Well,
What's the sort of the picture and the feeling down at the Meadow?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think for most of the season, Johnny, the kind of goals for and against stats have spoke for themselves, haven't they? Well, I say most of the season, actually, remarkably, given their goals against record and how good and high and competitive that is, it actually took them ages to keep a first clean sheet. So it's quite amazing how that's turned. Of late in recent months, how resilient and solid they are at the back. Obviously, likewise, goals at the other end have been difficult to come by. They haven't scored anywhere near as many as they've needed to or wanted to, and that's why they're still 17th with 10 games to go. But since we'd have last spoken on one of these, obviously an important win, an important couple of results. Obviously, as you mentioned, 3 unbeaten. That win at Burton 2 Saturdays ago was obviously key. They were on a long sort of winless run. Don't think they were playing badly every week, but they weren't getting the wins they needed, to try and climb clear of, put any lingering danger fears to bed. They got that, ended the run, obviously, and have backed it up with what on paper looks like 2 0-0s. But I have to say, to some of the best sort of consistent attacking football Town have played this season. I mean, Town fans will have known. Many home fans will have seen the game against leaders Rotherham a couple of Tuesdays ago. Second half, Town played Rotherham off the park, and the Millers are the best side in the league this season. And then obviously Cambridge last time out. Well, I haven't seen many more one-sided 0-0s. So funny, ironic, really, that in those couple of sort of stalemates, they've created so much. Had really good intent about them going forward. Created a lot more chances than they have in the majority of the campaign, so I think that bodes well. But sort of a bit of an irony, really, that the games have finished 0-0, but they continue to be really tight and sort of resistant at the back. So I think that bodes well. Obviously, as you've touched on, Oxford ahead, one of several good top sides still to play in these final 10 games. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Certainly, I think there's 7 off the drop zone at the moment, and like you say, you've got
8 now, Johnny.
8 now. 8. Sorry, my maths has never been fantastic.
Every point counts, but actually, as the manager pointed out last time, it's actually 7 to 12 to mid-table. So I think the gap looking above is shorter than the one behind to the trapdoor.
And that's all good news. But as you said, in front of goal has been like, what do you put it down to, Lewis? Is it the strikers in there? Ryan Bowman had a little bit of a spell earlier in the campaign. He grabbed the hat trick and looked like he could go on a run, as did Daniel Udoh. I know there was a lot of sort of talk around him after he scored at Anfield and scored an absolute belter on Boxing Day. Is it a case of maybe needing another transfer window to make that strike force even more potent?
Yeah, maybe. Potent? I mean, supporters and onlookers will point to recruitment and the transfer windows. So I think they're a team born out of being solid and resilient first and foremost. That's what the manager had to do immediately when he came in 14, 15 months ago to put to an end the leaky back door. They were conceding too much that were going down. So that happened. And that they've got the 3rd best defensive record in the division after the top 2. It's crazy, really, but you balance it out, and does it hinder it going in the other direction? The goals have only scored more than the bottom 3. Maybe it does. They play a 3-5-2. They play a three-man defense. Steve Cotterill always says, if you can't win, don't lose. So there is that emphasis on being hard to beat, being difficult to beat. They are that. They've lost more games than they wanted this season, but they are still, they're seldom beaten heavily. Could you point to the way they set up in regards to their not scoring enough goals? I'm not sure. I mean, the wing backs this season have been Elliot Bennett on one side, and then a mixture of Luke Lee, Nathaniel Ogbeta, and now George Nurse. Now, I don't think either of those four playing at wing back in such an important role for the width are defensive players, are sort of fullbacks who can't attack as wing backs. I don't think it's that. I think the side is not packed full of guile and creativity. I don't think. I think it's got so much legs, fitness, resilience. Certainly that physical side of it more than the guile technical side of it. But that's not uncommon at League One, is it? You get that. You don't get sort of successful or any League One teams packed full of pass masters, through ball sort of maestros, creators, that sort of thing. Yeah, they're few and far between. I mean, Luke Lee's been the one, hasn't he, in the middle of the park this season, who's got that sort of flair, creative, can pick a pass about him. Josh Vela, who we're going to speak on later, aren't we? Obviously back from a ban this weekend. Often plays as a 10 this season behind the front two. And, he's a great player. He's one of the best players at the club. But again, is he that crafty, guilish playmaker? No, he's a runner, isn't he? Time and he's running to the box. Hasn't got as many goals as he'd have needed, he'd have wanted. Neither have the wing backs, for the record, And you mentioned the two strikers, Bowman and Udo. Great return by Christmas, hadn't they? I think between them, or certainly the new year, maybe by the time we went to Anfield in January, they were on 20 goals between them, which is a superb total, really. But they were in purple patches, weren't they? And it's dried up, as perhaps it was always going to. They were highly unlikely to get 20 each, were they? So there hasn't been enough from elsewhere. That's the bottom line, really. I don't think that's because of the quality of the players throughout. I think, you look at each player in the squad maybe, and you think, most, if not all of you, could have scored more, bar the front two. I mentioned the setup earlier in the system. I don't think it's a defensive system, even though when you're under the cosh, you can drop to a 5 at the back. Particularly, David Davis plays as that sitter, doesn't he, when he's fit? Obviously, he's injured at the moment. I don't think they're set up, sent out, not to go and create, not to go and score. I think it's byproduct of the squad this season. Not as many of those little technical, creative players, possibly, but that will be the interesting one moving forward to the summer, won't it? Steve Cotterill's second summer pre-season at the club. The last summer was the first, the one where he had to start putting his stamp on it. Now he's had a full season. One where he's not been affected by illness. He's seen how it's gone. How will he address? How will he look to rectify things for next season? So Town can obviously aim higher than where they currently want to be, because I don't think anyone at the club wants to be 17th. So how can they improve on it and make sure they are more potent next season, as you said.
One boost he might get in the coming weeks in terms of attacking department could be Shaun Whalley, Town favourite, who has grabbed goals in the past. And what's the latest on him, Lewis?
Yeah, he's obviously, as we speak on Thursday. I haven't yet been to the presser at Sunderland, so we are speaking to Steve Cotterill later today, and should be speaking to a player as well. But the last time we spoke with the manager, so it was prior to Cambridge, but he did give a positive update on Shaun, who of course has been out injured since November. Serious long-term thigh muscle problem. He's at the time he'd been back training, doing running, sort of some ball work. I think the manager gave a time frame of about 7 to 10 days, and it was possibly that period ago. So I actually thought he may have had half a chance of appearing on the bench at Cambridge last week. Didn't speak to the manager just before Cambridge, so wasn't sure how that would go. He wasn't there in the squad at the Abbey Stadium, so I would suspect with the week's training they've had that Shaun, is certainly pushing close. It wouldn't surprise me if he appeared. I don't think he's going to go straight into the 11. That is highly unlikely, given 3 months plus out injured. But yeah, you're right. What a huge boost, to have. Shaun's had a strange, difficult season. Obviously, he's won off 250 games for the club, which will be a brilliant milestone for him personally. And he will be a boost for these final games, whether it's to turn to off the bench or when he's a bit more fit and sharp to start with. It will be interesting to see where he plays. Does he go for that Vela 10 role? Does he become one of the front two to give Udo and Bowman a rest? Does he, if they continue with the 3-4-3 of late, last few games, does he take Tom Bloxham's role on the right, or maybe on the left side and shuffle it around? It'd be interesting, but good options to have. He's a top, he's getting on in terms of years, Shaun, but he's not for me, not slowing down. Great option to have at this level, certainly.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him back in a Salop shirt. Just finally, we'll look to Oxford. Obviously,
Yeah.
Oxford. I think they've got 4 wins or 5 wins in a row at the moment. They're absolutely flying. So it's going to be a tough ask for Salop. Is it one where Steve Cotterill probably snap your hand off for a point today, Lewis? Or
no, well, they're at home where Town are stronger, so I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say they set out to draw. Certainly at home, maybe if they were going to the Kassam, I'd give a different answer there. Town was soundly beaten at the Kassam in October, by the way. But no, I think we Rotherham last time out, best side in the division. Rightfully, I was going to say rightfully going to win the league, but they've actually tripped up a little bit in the last 2, haven't they? But yeah, they're probably still going to win the league. And Town more than matched them, so they won't think that they can't go and beat Oxford at home. But you're right, they are flying. I think it's 4 wins from 5. They're 4th, aren't they, in League One? There's a bit of a gap above them. They're not going to charge down the top 3, I don't think. I think obviously MK Dons are now pushing Wigan and Rotherham. But Oxford have got their own battles, the playoff spots below them, 4th, 5th, 6th, it's not a massive margin for error they've got. So if they go and start losing games, like, no disrespect to Shrewsbury, they're going to be fearing for their rivals behind them catching them up. So they got a lot to sort of play for on the line for them in Shropshire on Saturday. They'll be coming looking to win this, and it will be tough. Their squad, Carl Robinson's side's always impressed me, I've got to say. Their squad on paper looks sort of packed full of quality, talent. Got a lot of technical players. We were mentioning sort of technical players earlier. They really play it around, don't they? And I think certainly in my time covering Shrewsbury, the Oxford games at the Meadow have always been quite lively, high scoring, sort of end to end. So hopefully, I think I'm right in saying I think the last game before the initial lockdown with the pandemic was Oxford at the Meadow, and that was 3-2 if I remember
last
rightly.
season was quite exciting. I think young Tom Bloxham had a really good game last year against Oxford.
Yeah. And again, we don't know if he's going to keep his place. He's done so well in the last 3 games, but that game just for the pandemic, ironically, Josh Vella was sent off in. So the irony of him coming back from a ban on
full
Saturday.
Circle.
Yeah. Well, does he make the 11? It's another sort of conundrum, but not a bad one to have. But tough game. I think a draw is not the worst result in the world, as the manager would say. If you can't get the win, don't lose it. And let's be fair, Town are hard to beat. They're hard to break down at the minute. So it's a bit of an easy thing to say, given our results have been lately. But I think it'll probably be tight.
There we go. There's the verdict from
really sticking my neck out there, aren't I? Yeah, tight. Yeah, I'll stay on the fence, mate. No worries.
There we go. Lewis is on the fence. Steve Cotterill said in the week he was hoping for a bit of lady luck to shine down on his Shrewsbury players as they look to get their shooting boots on. They'd be hoping that's the case on Saturday as they take on Oxford at the Meadow. And for all your previews ahead of the game, go to shropshirestar.com.